What up, guys? Press Sports here. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. I got the new fade, man. Filipino style. Dude came to the crib, shaped me up real good, gave me a good haircut, all that other good stuff. Okay? It's raining right now. You could probably hear it. What I want to talk to you about is none other than boxing, one of my favorite sports, man. I started watching boxing back in the 90s, okay? One of my favorite sports, hands down. And one of the guys that's responsible for making me like boxing is none other than Mike Tyson, guys like that. I like to Evander Holyfield to a certain extent. But let me just do some honorable mentions first. One of my honorable mentions is Manny Pacquiao. Man, him and Floyd shaped a whole generation. You had Pac-Tards, you had Flow-Mos. No different from LeBron fans and Kobe fans. You know, remember that? So they both had a huge following. They shaped out the 2000s of boxing, and that's what I loved about both of them. So Manny Pacquiao is an honorable mention for me. Evander Holyfield is an honorable mention. A guy before my time, before I was even watching boxing, what you call it? What's his dude name? Man, forget his name. Sugar Ray Robinson. Him, you know, I respect what he did. You know, even though I never was around to watch him fight, I respect what he did. But that's my honorable mentions. My number 5 is Roy Jones Jr., okay? I love Roy Jones Jr., man. Like he said, they say I fought nobody. That's because I make him look like nobody, all right? In the early 2000s, Roy Jones was the man. The way he outboxed people, he was a knockout artist. He had the skills, and he had the charisma and style to go with his boxing talent. I love watching Jones Jr. box, all right? He was one of my favorites back in the day. Number 4, okay, is 80s baby, okay? Like I said, I really caught on to boxing from the 90s, but I watched so much film and so much video because my family have tape on this guy, is none other than Sugar Ray Leonard, okay? Man, Sugar Ray Leonard was, you know, the bomb, you know. He had the classic fight with Roberto Duran, no mas fight. And I think he was one of the greatest welterweights of all time. He was just hands down a great boxer. He beat up Floyd Mayweather's father. You know, he won that fight as well. Great boxer, man. Sugar Ray Leonard, always going to be on my list of greatest boxers of all time. So even though he's an 80s guy, I'm a 90s guy, I still had so much respect for the dude. I had to put him on my list. Number 3, none other than Mike Tyson, okay? 90s guy. I loved it watching Mike Tyson box. Knockout artist, straight from New York. You know, he was representing New York the way it was supposed to be represented. He was giving guys the business, knocking them the hell out. And that's what I love about Mike Tyson. You know, he's just flat out a beast. After his trainer died, his career kind of went down the drain. But nevertheless, Mike Tyson's one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time. So you got to give him credit for that. Number 2 is none other than the best defensive boxer of all time, Floyd Mayweather, okay? Floyd defined the whole generation of boxing. You got to give the man his credit. You know, I loved a lot about Floyd as a boxer. As a person, I'm not too fond of Floyd Mayweather, okay? So he doesn't get my nod as a boxer. As a person off the court or off the ring. But I love what Floyd did for the sport of boxing. He made it Showtime, pay-per-view, all that good stuff. And, you know, he went out there and won. And that's what's more important. You know, you can't take that away from him. And number 1, my favorite boxer of all time is the man that transcends boxing, period. Muhammad Ali. On and off the court, Muhammad Ali is the greatest. They made movies of this man. I mean, I just love Muhammad Ali. I got like over 50 fights of Muhammad Ali on DVD. He was before my time, but nevertheless, I'm such a historian of sports. I cannot take what Muhammad Ali did for granted. This guy fought guys in their prime, and he never backed down from a challenge. And he had to overcome so much, civil rights era, all this stuff. He's the greatest, you know. So rest in peace to Muhammad Ali. You will always be my favorite boxer of all time, you know. From the quotes to the trash talking, man, this guy was no other. There was no other like Muhammad Ali for me, man. So Muhammad Ali is the greatest boxer of all time. And it's not about the win or the loss, it's how you do it. And nobody did it better than Muhammad Ali. So there you go, my top 5 boxers of all time. So tell me what your top 5 boxers of all time is. Interested to see who you got on that list. You know, I'm going to start doing top 5 for a lot of sports, you know, just breaking them down. And that's it for boxing, man. Prince Sports out from the Philippines. Peace.